Hi guys, welcome back to episode 3 of Titanic Read. I'm your host, Reed Stradling, or ReedQ7 online, and we got a really special episode for you guys today. My regular co-host, George, is not here. He is on vacation, so I have a standing co-host, House of Mana. House of Mana has is insane at the deck. Just what top eight it or won the Team Trios NRG event, as well as top eighted standard spotlight series with Vivi Cauldron, and just like a ton of challenge wins, challenge top eight finishes. Incredible record. Welcome to the stream. What's up, House?
Dude, it's so nice to be back, and I'm sure if any amulet enjoyers are out there that have been around since around 2020, 2021, will remember the Titan Talk podcast that I did with Moniz and Fran and Pumpkin Wine way back in the day, dude. That was an absolute banger. Um, and so I haven't done something like this in a minute, but it's nice to be back, and I'm glad it's covering uh, a good friend of ours this time. So it's great to be here.
Happy to have you on. And we also have another special guest here who will be doing a little interview style here with, and that is Nathan of the Guilt Leaf, who is another absolute grandmaster of the deck. You'll see him hanging out in the finals of any given challenge. He top aided Showcase recently, and most notably, and you know what? I was a fan before this, but most notably, just now, he won the RC Vegas with Amulet Titan. 1,300, 1,400 person event, and just absolutely took it down. So, what's up, Nathan?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right. Uh, you're from the DMV area, is that correct?
Yep, I live in Northern Virginia, right outside of DC.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I love Virginia. I lived there for 2 years actually during high school, so beautiful place. Um, we'll go back at some point, but happy to have you here. So, um, the main goal of this podcast is just to do an interview with Nathan, and House and I will be just asking various questions about how the RC went. So I'll just start it off. So Nathan, what sort of like testing and lead up did you have into this event? Tell us a little bit about that.
So obviously, the majority of the testing I did was just Magic Online challenges. Um, I play way more than anyone probably should. There's currently like 7 modern challenges every week, and I think I play on average 4 or 5 of them. So a lot of reps in there. Um, I also work with a RC level testing team called Spellbomb, mostly based out of Atlanta, but we have members all over the country. Um, Most of them this season did not end up on Titan. We mostly converged on Jeskai Blink, but they were still very helpful. We did a lot of focus testing, um, tried to really nail down all the matchups that we expected and predict the metagame, which I think we got mostly right. We pretty much knew Jeskai Blink was going to be the top deck. I think everyone did. Um, we expected a decent amount of energy, Titan, prowess, and Zoo after that. Um, and I think we prepared pretty well. I liked where my deck list was at for most of those matchups. I liked my testing. I I think I think I was pretty well prepared for this one.
Nice. So Spellbomb, I is that like a newer team or has it been around for a while?
Our first quote official tournament would have been RCDC last year, which was Pioneer. We've restructured a couple times. We tried something new for this one, and I guess it seemed to work pretty well. We got at this RC, we had 3 people qualify for the Pro Tour. Myself, May French on Is It Prowess, and Steve Gann on Jeskai Blink. All 3 of us top 32'd.
Nice, super good result. Was anyone else on the team playing Titan or was it just you?
There was one other, yeah. And then we had like three others on Blink, a couple on Is It Metalcraft, and some other various decks, but m mostly Jeskai Blink, and then I think two of us on Titan.
Got it. So then outside of like testing and that sort of preparation, what, because I know the mental aspect and emotional aspect of these tournaments is a really big part. What sort of, I guess, mental preparation did you do going into this or during the tournament?
Well, less than I probably should have. My mental with Magic is not usually as good as it should be. Um, the losses can hit hard, but that's okay. The general idea that we've been trying to do is kind of ignore all previous rounds. We're going into each round separately, and like the kind of joke, but it also is a good mentality that we've been using is your record is just always 0-0. Every round you're just going into round one of an FNM, you're just playing Magic, do whatever you can, win or lose, move on, and then you're still 0-0 after that round.
Yeah, I've heard that theory or ideology of just like every round's the first round, go into it without, even if you're like winning like crazy, you're winning a ton, not necessarily to let that get to you and to just go in.
Yeah, exactly. After day one, I did not end 8-1, I ended 0-0. Went to round 10, just another round, just playing more Magic.
How
I think
soon?
that is
Oh yeah, go ahead.
the I would say, yeah, like I think that is easily the most important way to think about any sort of Magic tournament. Um, and the second that you start putting these like very high like expectations of yourself to do well, that's when you start seeing yourself, like choking on spots that are like, may have been easier at other times, or just things will hit way harder. I remember um like a couple years ago when I was trying to make a run like for the Mox leaderboard, like just like playing like all these events and like burning out. And then just like the second that you got kind of close and those losses hit really hard, and like it's always gonna suck losing game of Magic, but like if you can walk away from a game of Magic knowing, okay, what did I do wrong, okay, how can I improve? And then when you win those, and then about at the same time, can you walk away from the game Magic and go, okay, what did I go wrong? How can I make sure I don't do that again next time, even though I still won? It's like it's like all these things are like you should be able to ask yourself questions from every single match of Magic you play, and be able to improve on literally anything. But if you can't, but if you can't walk away from a game Magic saying, I there's I had no moves, or just I played perfectly, nothing else matters, my opponent's dog water, then simply okay, then you're just not going to improve play Magic in the long term.
And then my follow-up question, what's the diet of a champion? How do you acquire food over the course of the event?
It's an interesting question, and probably one that people don't ask enough, honestly, because it is important. I'm not that careful with what I eat during tournament weekends. Convention food can be pretty expensive, and I also usually eat vegetarian, which limits my options even more. Um, in general, I really just don't eat in the mornings. I don't get hungry as much. Uh, at this one, I tried to do a little better. I have a lot of friends who were walking around with like protein bars. Once one of them even went out to get like some boiled eggs so that I'd have some amount of protein during the day. But the most important part that I focus on is staying hydrated more than nourished. I had a water bottle that I was refilling at least once every 2 rounds, usually once every round. Made sure to stay very hydrated during the event.
Nice. Well, I'm glad I asked. So,
That
oh,
in that venue, you had to, dude. It was, I mean, or in Vegas, like it's like that dry heat is gross, and then also buying anything in in the Westgate was just not remotely playable, dude.
Yeah,
Like
it was
I th-
brutal. I
I
even
think like the cheapest thing was like what like the $3-4 $5 hot dog at like the kind of stand, and everything else was like minimum like $8.
Yeah, I didn't buy anything in the convention center. I brought a little bit of food and then ate like before or after the event was over.
Yeah.
I personally have found success. I've been buying Uncrustables for the event. I'll buy Uncrustables and then like, some Built Bars, and then that'll keep me, pretty fine for the duration of the day.
Yeah, I think that might be the tech. That's probably a pretty good one to carry around.
And just for the people listening, I forgot to give context on the RC. So this is RC Vegas. It was held in the Westgate in Las Vegas, USA, and it was during the same weekend as what, two other RCs? Is that correct? It was Antwerp and
Three,
Calgary.
three.
Yeah, there were three RCs this weekend.
And no. The Japanese RC was also this weekend as well.
Jeez, yeah. So
Yeah,
tons of
yeah.
RCs going on
There
this
was four
weekend.
RCs.
Tons of RCs, tons of results from Titan players all over. And was there an RC last week or something to build data into this week?
No, because last week was pre-release for Avatar.
Right. So
So I think the last RC that we had might have been the South American RC. I
no, that
think that
was
was the last
before
one.
Houston, right?
Yeah, Houston was
No,
like 4 weeks ago, and then I thought South America was a week or two before
Or no,
that.
that was Central America, I
no,
guess.
no. The Central America, the one that Vinny won was the first RC, and then Brazil and South America sort of converged into one RC. And I believe that was about 2 weeks after Houston,
Okay.
Mm.
or a week after Houston, but I know it was after Houston.
Yeah.
And then the Australia was, it was Australia the week after Houston, because I remember I was helping, I was coaching someone ahead of that tournament,
Oh,
and
right.
then
So the last data would have been from Australia.
no, I believe it was from Brazil. I
Right.
think that Brazil or China, I believe, was the last one.
Okay.
But
Well,
it's been a while. Like it was really awkward having all four of these tournaments on the same weekend, because like from like a content creator like perspective, like myself or like Reed, like I'm sure like you've like felt this too. Uh, it's really really difficult having these sorts of tournaments all converge on one weekend, because typically we want to look at these much larger scale tournaments to fall back on data, because it represents a large population, whereas taking from like multiple like smaller populations, it still works, but you kind of still see these like drastic like metagame shifts like across like each region. Whereas I find that in these like much larger regions, they're generally kind of consistent. So not having like EMEA uh for the US one was kind of rough, to be honest. Like with trying to like predict the field and everything. But I mean, I guess it kind of worked out. But God, I really hope they never do that again.
I felt the exact same way. It's just
That was brutal.
way too many on the same weekend. Um, yeah, and I just wanted more data building up to it. Sort of, from my perspective, right? In Houston, Titan was just positioned at this insane like peak of the hill. Um, can't really do anything about it. Like Titan's just tier zero. And then as the weeks sort of progressed, so like week one, it was all right. It's still pretty good, but like people are starting to catch on and they're bringing in all this hate. Week two was like, all right, there's a lot of hate. People are playing a lot of Ashioks. I I'm a little scared with this deck, And then week three was uh sort of the build up week where it started coming clear to me. I'm like, all right, like the deck is still, you're still just gonna get an insane win rate against this large swath of decks, and you simply need to skill diff your hard matchups if you're gonna get a good result at this tournament. Um, and potentially we need some sort of answer to Ashiok, and I think Dom Harvey is feeling the same way because Dom Harvey posted like 2 days before the tournament this list with Lithomantic Barrage, and everyone sort of hopped on that bandwagon of throwing Lithomantic Barrage. Notably, Nathan does not have any direct answers here to Ashiok that I see in the list. So I did.
No, not really any clean answers. I have one Otawara main, a second one side, and I last minute put a Mystical Dispute untested into my sideboard.
Okay. And yeah, I guess I was gonna ask, like, what was sort of your plan against Ashiok?
So this may seem like a completely terrible answer, but unironically, my plan going in was just to dodge the card. It might seem completely stupid because uh, 4 weeks prior, or five, however many it was, Vinny Fino, I think is his name, won RC Houston with Jeskai Blink. And in the guide he released, he had three Ashiok sideboard. And we knew it was going to be the most played deck, so it seems odd to not have an answer to a common sideboard card in the most played deck. Um, but in the matches that I played testing, that deck and almost every deck that plays Ashiok is just so bad at finding it. Like they don't play a ton of card selection. The only deck that really can consistently find it is Esper Blink, which we did not expect to see a lot of because they have Overlord, so they can actually dig for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for the most part, they just kind of have to draw into it. Um, and I think most of the answers for that card were pretty bad in general. Lithomantic Barrage was more acceptable because against Jeskai it also kills Ragavan and Philia, which are important cards, obviously. But it in the past I've not been very impressed with removal spells like that. And like you said, it was only a couple days before the event that Dom suggested this, so I didn't really get a chance to test it, and I was a little skeptical of doing that. So I just kind of said, screw it. I'm gonna lose to this card when they draw it, but they're just not gonna draw it very often. And even if they do, I have two threats in my sideboard. My list is on a very heavy green Sensing Youth package, so I had a lot of random green creatures in the main and sideboard. I had two threats in the sideboard that worked decently well through Ashiok, one Tireless Tracker and one Six. So my hope against the Ashiok decks was just I'm gonna put one of these two into play before they play an Ashiok, and then that will take care of the Ashiok or win the game on its own.
Yeah, I like that plan. I had been saying similar things, leading up to the event. People would point out, "Hey, this list doesn't really beat Ashiok," and my main point was I'm trying to just accumulate as much value as I can, especially on the board, before the Ashiok lands, and try and just outpace them in such a way that they can't really block uh, effectively, and they lose their Ashiok. And in
Yeah,
practice,
and
it
this
worked.
yeah, so this is like kind of a mentality I've applied to a lot of combo decks I've played in the past. Like I one of the decks I worked on a lot last year was Twiddlestorm in Modern. And in the 75, there was literally only one card that could win the game. There was one Thassa's Oracle switched between the main and the sideboard sometimes. Um, and people were always confused, like, well, what if they have Surgical? What if they have any way to exile it? And my answer was just, yeah, I'm going to lose those games. But that's not going to happen often enough that it's worth wasting another card in my deck to play around it. And that was kind of my mentality with this one too, where yeah, I'm going to lose the games to Ashiok. That's fine. I don't expect to win every game of Magic anyway. I'm going to build my deck to win the most games, not to win every game. Um, and in practice, I did get very lucky, which you have to do to win a tournament. You cannot just be good. You have to be good and lucky. Um, and in 18 rounds, my opponents cast a combined zero Ashioks,
Wow, that's
which,
insane,
No
actually.
wonder you won this tournament, dude. What the
yeah,
hell?
like you have to be lucky.
It's weird though, right? Because I remember I can't remember who mentioned it. It might have also been Dom, or no, or it actually no. I think it was Candace that mentioned this, and with like I remember when Vinny told me that the guy had three Ashocks in it. Um, that was like kind of gross, and I remember trying like my own things as well. I remember trying like Terra Thunder or something like that. But Canister mentioned like a great point of which like, well, if they're registering like 3 copies of Ashiok, then is it even worth devoting a Cybersoft to those? Because like while you mentioned the point of like, well these decks are really bad at selecting them outside of Esper. Well, there's also the point of well, if they have more copies of this card, then we're also more frequently to have a follow up Ashiok. If for whatever reason you can't capitalize on it that turn, so then that presents the question of well, in that case, then is it worth playing reversals at all if it's going to be like much heavier copies of it? Whereas maybe it doesn't make whereas like is it this like weird delta of like well if there's fewer copies does it make more sense to play it? It's a very interesting question and I mean, clearly, I mean, simply dodging is just the move if you're Nathan. But I mean, that checks out then if you dodge 18 shot for all 18 rounds.
Yeah, and on the same line that they are not going to draw Ashiok very much. Even if they do, we might not draw Lithomantic Barrage that much, right? We don't have card selection either. So I think punting those games is often a correct strategy. And I will also say, not only did I not play against Ashioks, I didn't play against Jeskai Blink once. I played against Xerophilia decks this weekend. Um, so it really it it was a lot of luck, but I think the theory was still mostly sound.
I my plan for Ashiok going into this was initially to do that, just to accumulate value, to try and beat it head on or whatever. And I saw the barrages. And, I've been thinking about barrage in the past, but I once Dom posts something, it's like, oh, maybe that's a little more legitimate than I thought it was. Which maybe isn't the best way to think about things, but I rethought about it and I'm like, okay, so my plan here is have a couple barrages, have stock ups to be able to find those barrages because someone had told me, or someone that Nitro Rick specifically, um who top forward the Calgary RC with pretty much my exact list with a couple of sideboard changes. We worked together really closely. Nitro Rick tells me, he's like, all right, you gotta do this barrage stock up stuff because you just find barrage off of stock up and you're able to kill Ashiok pretty consistently. Like he said something about like in 30 games he won the majority of games where Ashiok landed. I'm like, all right, that sounds pretty good. So that's what I ended up running. Um, but I like this plan too of dodge and be lucky because really when it comes down to it, it's like Jeskai is what 10% of the meta, and then you're only going to see Ashiok in some given percentage of games that you probably weren't going to win anyway, and you're really favored game one, so just win one of the sideboard games.
Yeah, exactly.
I will agree that I really vibed with the whole Sokka Barrage plan. That's what I once I executed into the main event, that's precisely what I ended up registering was playing stock ups and playing barrages. Stock up was so incredible all weekend. Um, since like the whole majority, I guess the majority of the format, the goal was just simply find Green Sun Zenith and Escape Shift as much as possible because these are the greatest cards in our deck and it's not remotely close. Next and sorry, Spelunking is the best card in our deck and it's not remotely close. And then followed up by Escape Shift and Green Sun as well. Saga finds all those cards because they're magic cards. So being able to find those very consistently is great. Um, and so yeah, I was very very impressed by it. Felt very very good.
So Nathan, you were one of the first people to switch over to four Green Suns, or to like really champion the concept of playing the four Green Suns builds. What's like some of your theory behind that there, and with your main board targets?
So yeah, this was a list that was experimental that I tried a couple months ago in a challenge where I was increasingly less and less impressed with Malevolent Rumble. In the past, I've just never liked cantrips in this deck. I can't really articulate why, but I, they just were never impressive. Rumble was by far the best, but it still left a lot to be desired, especially post board when we were bringing in a lot of non-permanent spells. Um, so what I did was I wanted to try to maximize the average card quality of the cards we were drawing. And with Green Sun Zenith, uh, I was looking at it like, well, turn one ramp is so good in this deck, especially if that ramp is a land, because it helps scape shifts a lot. Green Sun can do that by getting Dryad Arbor. Um, it is our threat. It's a 7-mana Titan or a 3-mana Analyst, which often counts as a threat. Um, and then if I put the Wandering Minstrel in the deck, then it's even less of a dead draw because it can be a 3-mana amulet. Now it's a terrible amulet. Unlike Spelunking, it doesn't draw a card. It's the most removable amulet. Like you can Solitude it, Galvanic Discharge, whatever. But still an amulet. It helps you race in some of those games. Um, and so I tried it, and it actually did really well the first couple times I tried it. Um, so uh, with that main board, the sideboard got even better because as most Titan lists are on right now, Green Sun is mostly better post board when you bring in like Six or Ice Till Explorer or whatever other random alt threats collector if you're playing in the sideboard. Um, so I just went all in on that. I have a sideboard Insidious Fungus, a sideboard Tireless Tracker, a sideboard Dosan the Falling Leaf, a ton of random one-ofs to just get whatever situation I need to beat. I think pretty much all of them came up during this tournament. I Still Explorer might have actually been the worst one, ironically. Um, but playing just like a card that fills literally whatever role you need it to game one, and then post board it's whatever sideboard card is best, but you have like 5 copies of it, felt great. I think there was like 1 or 2 matches where I bored out one of them, but for the most part, Green Sun was just the best card in the deck. And specifically, the Wandering Minstrel, uh, that surprisingly to me at least, that was the card most people had to read when they were looking at my deck list. Um, it's a little strange, but it's felt really good in this deck. Not even just pre-board, but post-board in the mirror, because it's just an amulet that they can't kill. Like when you're both Force of Vigoring and besieging each other, and then you have an amulet that they can't, and that's your main point of interaction in the matchup, you just get to race so easily. And I did win both my Titan mirrors this weekend.
Did you have any? Well, obviously you had a really good record, so it likely didn't come up in too many games. But did you have any games where it was sort of awkward to have either Minstrel, Dread Arbor, any of your sideboard targets in your deck?
Oh yeah, a ton where they were awkward. Dryad Arbor is a terrible card. You never want to draw it. It's literally only good as a Green Sun hit. Um, but it's kind of necessary in the deck to make the Green Sun Zenith have that higher value. Minstrel, also terrible if you already have an Amulet or Spelunking in play, which there's a lot of in the deck. But putting the Minstrel in the deck meant sideboarding got a little easier because there are matchups where Minstrel is really bad, so I can cut it in those. Or if Minstrel is good, I was free to cut more Sagas because if I already have an Amulet in play, then I don't really need the other, unless it's 2 copies of Amulet. But like Amulet plus Minstrel or Spelunking plus Minstrel, it doesn't help.
Hmm. What's sort of your heuristic for cutting, I guess, Minstrel?
Um, there were kind of 2 points on whether I cut Minstrel or not. The first is, are they ever fighting over the enchantments and artifacts? If they are not, then I pretty much just cut the Minstrel. Like against Affinity, I was cutting it a lot because they don't really have good removal for Saga, Amulet, or Splunking. Um, the other point is if there's other creatures in my sideboard that I'm always going to want a Green Sun for instead. So Affinity is another good example where something like Collector Roof is just going to be better. Even if I don't have an amulet, I'm very happy getting this card instead. Or like against Jeskai Blink, uh, I'm happy getting like a Tyros Tracker, a Six, or Ice Till Explorer. So if I'd rather save the Green Sun for a higher value card, then I'm happy cutting Minstrel.
That is interesting. You say I still was the worst. I
I
mean,
think
they're
it's probably correlated to me never playing against Blink. That card's very, very good against Blink.
very good against blank. I would have to agree. And then yeah, the six tireless tracker kind of caught me off guard, and a lot of lists that performed well were playing both of those. I think pretty much every top 8 list over the weekend was playing both of those. Um, I feel like I need more explanation on tracker. Like, uh, what sort of is that? Just another value piece just to add to the sort of impending mountain of doom that Green Suns can give you, or what?
Yeah, kind of. I wanted more mid-range threats. Like most lists are on 3 or 4 in the sideboard, so this is filling one of those. With 4 Green Sun, I felt like splitting my threats as much as possible covered more of a range. They could just be like the Green Suns are just whichever threat I need anyway. So like playing a second Six or a second I still didn't feel that important to me instead of playing different threats that cover more angles. And Tracker specifically, like it's not a very good card, but it does 2 things that nothing else in this deck can do, which is it can single-handedly win a game against both simultaneously an Ashiok and a Blood Moon effect. Right? If you have it in play, you just play lands, draw cards, make it bigger, and it can kill an Ashiok, or it can just kill them, and it lets you play the game through all of the most common hate pieces for this deck.
So I'm gonna let you ask some questions.
Yeah, I wanted to see. So, I mean, more notably, I think the strangest inclusion in the board is the docent. I know Moniz is someone that's like this card a lot, and I've never quite really understood it. And but I will. I mean, I understand why we have it, but I've never been quite impressed by it. Could you speak on Docent the Fallen Leaf a little bit more?
Yeah, I agree it's a strange one, and I was pretty skeptical myself, even after having tested it a lot. Um, but like I said, it's part of this theory of making Green Sun cover as many angles as possible. The big reason to play it was for the Simic Ritual matchup. That was one where if I have a Dosan, their only possible way to beat me is a Harbinger. So if I just keep like if I have Dosan in my deck, which I'm gonna find most games with Green Sun Zenith, then I basically can keep any hand with an answer Harbinger, and I actually feel favored, which was really surprising. And I did end up going 2-1 in matches against Ritual this weekend, with pretty much every game lost being just to a Harbinger. Um, yeah, it was also good against Blink, but I didn't play against it. It's not game winning against Blink the way it is against Ritual, but it still helps a lot against like all these random consigned to memory decks, Solitude, Force of Negation, Subtlety, all the decks that are just trying to interact with you a ton. Um, and getting to Green Sun for it, so like they can't even Subtlety or Strict Serenade it felt really powerful because then those cards are just dead the rest of the game too.
So real quick,
So
what sort of hand against Simic was it that you felt favored? Like you felt favored into Simic if you had like what sort of hands, I guess.
Like Green Sun plus Dismember. I think I had a game, I think it was technically my PT win and at 10-1 against Ryan Bellamy. I think in game two, I kept a hand that had Green Sun, Dismember, and 5 lands. Or maybe it was like Green Sun, Dismember, Spelunking, and 4 lands or something. Like not a super reactive, interactive uh, or proactive hand, but just could Green Sun for a Dosan so they can't do anything, and then Dismember the first Harbinger they play.
Solid.
was there any other like cyber Greenson targets that you maybe were considering, or because I know like there's been like people exploring cards like Hex Drinker, which I mean I don't think that card is very good, or I mean there's so many different green creatures that we get to look at. I mean there was even like the or over the weekend Badgermore Club was legal for the first time as well, so that's a card that I mean not many of us probably had very much time to try and explore the card at all. But like, was there anything else that you were considering being able to greenstone for?
Yeah, there's so many options. There's no way of knowing what the best ones really are, but you mentioned Hex Shrinker. My good friend Peter Husessian, who won RC Portland earlier this year with Titan, he swears by this combo of Hex Shrinker plus Grist. He thinks that these two are very good Green Sun hits for mid-range matchups. At the time, it was more for the Murktide decks. Now it's more for the Ritual decks. Um, I tried them, and I've never really been impressed. I think they don't really tie into the rest of our game plan well enough. They can still single-handedly win, and I did watch a very funny match that Pete played against Ritual this weekend where he won off just completely off the back of a Hex Drinker. It got turn one subtletied and then still won the game. Um, but I've liked cards like Dosan and Tireless Tracker a little more. Um, I know we also saw, if I remember correctly, there were some lists running around with Elder Gargaroth in the sideboard, which I think was a little wild.
I
Um,
believe Zumptofano, the runner-up of the European RC, I believe he was playing one or even maybe even two copies of Elder Gargaroth on the sideboard as his sort of like plan to beat Blink and Ashiok and the ritual decks. I think that's what the goal of Big Gargs was. Um,
yeah,
and I think it just started like picking up in popularity going into the weekend. But I think it was really only that player that saw success with the Gargs. It also makes more sense that because I think their list was also playing like if I remember correctly, I believe that person's list was playing 4 Rumble, 1 Zenith, and 75. And I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense if you're like if that's how you're building your deck, then maybe that makes more sense.
Yeah,
But
I think rumbling for a Gargaroth is a lot better than green sunsing for it.
yeah, for sure. I will say that's also when you're doing that, you kind of have to play more Gargaroths because if you're not Green Sun foring it, then
yeah,
you have
exactly.
to draw it more often, and that's kind of one of the hidden features of playing this four Green Sun build is that you get to play all these cards and then still have a lot of sideboard slots available. Like I think every single one of my Green Sun hits in the sideboard, yeah, it's just a one of because I have 4 Green Sun. I have 5 of them post board. So I had a lot more sideboard slots to work with too, which felt nice.
Another question with this many Green Suns hits is, did you feel like it was hard to make cuts with so many, because you're bringing in so many Green Suns targets, and all of your cards are pretty good against. I guess let's take Jeskai for an example, right? You have like Scapeshift, Green Suns, the whole combo, Spelunking. All these cards are really good against Jeskai, and then you have all these value cards on the side you're bringing in. Did you find it hard to make the right amount of cuts to be able to play against Jeskai?
Yeah, it can be pretty difficult with this list. This might be controversial. I don't know if either of you will agree with this. I'm very confident Reed will not, but I actually just cut all the scape shifts in a lot of matchups. Um, like it's the best card pre-board by a mile, and there's a lot of matchups where it's extremely good post-board too. But for the most part, every deck gets really interactive post-board against Titan, and almost every interactive point can stop a scape shift. Obviously, there's scape shift lines that, with enough lands or with enough other resources, can beat pretty much anything. But for the most part, it's really hard to win through like a consign that can replicate, or even Graveyard Hate sometimes is enough, or Strict Serenade or Subtlety. These are cards that often beat Scapeshift, and against a deck like Jeskai Blink, I unironically feel like Titan is the better grindy deck. Like we have more inevitability, so I'd rather just fight on that and not get cheesed out by trying to combo and then dying. So there were a lot of matches where I was just cutting 3 shift, one of the 2 analysts, and one Summoner's Pact. Just cut those 5 cards, get rid of the combo, and bring in grindy cards that are just going to win on their own anyway.
That's really interesting. I do lean a little more towards Reed with against just kind of in particular, with leaning on scape shifts post board. I think that, but like again, I think that that's just kind of how our deck is constructed with playing the sock ups and like trying to just like to exploit this sort of like very powerful card selection options that we have in our deck. I mean, I personally was also playing like something like a Cavern of Souls in my deck as well to like even like lean into Skate Shift even heavier, as a way of like getting around cards like Strict Serenade, which was very good by the way. And will say I think that but like with the goal of your deck list, that does make a lot of sense. If the goal is simply just to like because I do agree that it's Escape Shift is one of the more interactable cards in our deck. If not done carefully, we can get tipped over by a very small gust of air. So it makes sense that if the goal is just to grind as much as possible, Escape Shift does get a lot worse in those sorts of games. So it makes sense, but it's definitely I would say maybe a very contested opinion.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that I'm right either. It's just the approach I took with this deck list, and I think with your deck list, it makes a lot more sense to keep scape shifts in. Yeah, I think we are both right to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense. There's been a bit of, I don't know, blasphemy here. That's crazy. Cutting scape shifts against Jeskai. But I see your approach, and if you are able to grind better than Jeskai, then I think that's reasonable. I have a hard time, I guess, feeling like I can grind better than Jeskai. Like, I'll put 6 in Tyler's Tracker in, and those are nice when you Green Suns for them, but you're Green Sunsing for 4 and you're accumulating value that way. They're accumulating value off their like 2 drops, Felia, freaking Riddler, consign the Riddler trigger, whatever. They're getting crazy value off of that. How do you feel like you're outgrinding that, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, Philia is their most important card, I think, at least in the matchup, because that is how they get so much free value. Um, but if they don't play like a tempo deck, if they play too slow and interactive, we will cast a Primeval Titan on turn 6, and it's at least a 2-for-1, because either they, like, sorry, I guess if they Strict Serenade it, it's 1-for-1, but otherwise, like, it's going to get consigned plus solitude, I'm fine with that. Or it gets lands that make it more than 2 for 1, I'm fine with that too. And if they don't pressure us enough, a single Titan is basically just always going to be a huge card advantage spell, and often going to get another Titan as well. And just like when you have all these green suns in your deck that act as more threats, it really helps. And like, yeah, the other mid-range threats like the tracker and the six and the ice till, those are mostly to fill out your curve so you don't get tempoed out by the early threats. Like you need something to do early on that forces them to interact. Like if you play a turn 3/6, it's probably just getting solituded. I don't expect it to live, but then that solitude isn't hitting the Titan later.
I definitely agree with that, like 100%. I I had a game come up in round one of the ERC where I played against Jeskai, and it was this very like weird dynamic of I killed their Philia, then they didn't do anything. I cast my Titan. This is a bit of an oddity. I'm not too sure how I lost this game. I cast a Primeval Titan. My opponent cast March of Otherworldly Light X equals 6. He gets exiled. I cast a second Titan. It gets March of Otherworldly Lighted for 6. I cast a third Titan. It gets marched. And I somehow lost this game. Of my opponent doing virtually nothing the entire game, and I resolved 3 Titans and still lost. Um, I do know why I lost this game, but for the most part, if you ever stick a Titan, like Nathan says, it's virtually always a 2 for 1. So like it's pretty difficult to lose those games. I personally might have found like the 1% to lose those games, but it's I do feel incredibly favored if you ever get to resolve Imperial Titan at like any point in the game, or like even like if you mentioned just like if the one of those swamp creatures gets hit earlier on, that's great too. So
In terms of
Yeah,
the
and
March of
of course,
Otherworldly Light thing, I was also seeing a ton of other like March of Otherworldly Lights on the other side of the table for my Jeskai opponents. I think maybe they just realized it might be better in some ways than Prismatic Ending, because
I
Ending always felt
know.
easy to beat.
So I know in the Vinny guide, the Vinny Fino guide is also a collaboration with another SoCal goat, Ivan Espinosa. And Ivan is incredibly high on much of Otherworldly Light. I believe in their list, I think they're playing the full 4 copies with a 3-to-1 split,
Mm-hmm.
um, which I I think makes a lot of sense. If because I think also one of the best cards against Jeskai in some dynamics is Urza Saga. Um, Obviously, like they're gonna be boarding up on cards that make this card worth post board. But game one, like Urza Saga is like absolutely like fantastic against them, and so having a card that can just simply go 1 minute Stone Ring your Saga is it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But while also just being very flexible and just killing like literally everything that matters outside of like I'm pretty sure March kills like in the context of our deck. I'm pretty sure March kills everything. So but like other than that, like I think it makes sense from the just high list to see that card move up in popularity, and it definitely did make me like reapproach like how I was like sequencing things like in the early game. How do I like not like get myself blown out here? If Saga gets Stone Rained, how bad is that for me? Like where does like these like sorts of things like sort of open up and whatnot. But that actually leads me to another question that I had for you, Nathan, regarding Dry Dauber in particular. Because I mean, again, I'm big Dry Dauber hater. Absolutely hate this card with a burning passion. But given that a lot of these Jeskai deck lists are moving to or like so I think the general consensus is that there's two different builds of Jeskai. There's ones with 4 marches, or there's ones with 4 Covenant Discharge, and then probably playing around like I I think there's like an easily like 7 to like 9 ways to kill it main deck. But then also just like in every other matchup, I mean, just if this card ever gets put into play, and you're, I would say that one of the benefits of that amulet has is being able to dodge all of this, sheep spot removal in turns 1, 2, like turns 1 and 2, and Arbor enables all these different things. How do you sort of like feel about that sort of that point of interaction there?
Yeah, it is really strange, and I will say I agree. I'm also a big Dryad Arbor hater. Um, the card is very, very bad, and it opens up the deck to being able to be interacted on a completely different axis. However, um, post board, a lot of people will cut this interaction anyway. Like, people don't cast a lot of discharges against me post board. Um, but also, Dryad Arbor is just not even for the Jeskai matchups. Like, I cut the Dryad Arbor in the interactive matchups like that, again, because I want
Yeah.
to save Green Sun Zenith for better threats. Um, the Dryad Arbor really shines in the matchups where you're just trying to race. It's very good in the mirror, just turn one ramp. It's surprisingly good against energy because they really need to play threats early on, and if they're spending turn one or two discharging, that almost feels favorable for me. Um, and then like against affinity, they don't really kill it either. It's it's really just like to race. It's good in the combo and aggro matchups. It's a lot worse in the interactive matchups, and I do board it out a lot. But it's also
Mm-hmm.
just important game one to the kind of the theory with this list is just to win as many pre-board games as possible. Like Titan's the best combo deck in the format. Let's treat it that way. Let's just combo game one as much as possible. Be as linear, win on turn 3 or 4 as much as possible, and Dryad Arbor is just a way to facilitate that.
No, that makes sense.
Touching back on Boros for a moment, I watched your, and we'll get to the day two and all that later, but I watched your semifinals, and, or quarter, yeah, semi, and you're up against Boros, is that right? So,
Yep.
and I saw you played two sagas and didn't get punished for it, which is beautiful. What's sort of your concept on how you want to play against Boros, and also are you keeping Minstrel and Dryad Arbor?
Yeah, so Boros is a really strange matchup because depending on the player skill, the deck list, things can change a lot from the Boros side. Um, in my semifinal match, it was very, very specific. It was against Ryan Mullins, and I played against him in round 13 as well. And we talked a little bit about both of our plans, and he did not bring in Wrath of the Skies against me in Swiss. And I think we both agreed that it was probably not right to bring it in because of the way his mapping worked. Um, and so I wasn't really scared of it as much for the semifinal match either. I think in general most energy players agree with Ryan in this sense, but when I was more confirmed that like, okay, this really skilled player, like someone I've like known of for a while who I definitely respect isn't going to bring in Wrath, then I think I'm pretty safe to play multiple sagas against him. Um, in general, I cut one or two of the sagas against energy. It's one of the only matches where I do cut Saga because since the Blood Moon rules change, Wrath of the Skies is really the only card that severely punishes Saga. Um, so like in if Zoo plays Wrath, I'll often cut one or two of them, and those are the matches where Wandering Minstrel gets more important because you need the extra amulets.
Right.
Um, but for the most part, I leave Sagas in so many matchups nowadays.
That is a really interesting part of your sideboard mapping is how often you keep in the sagas. Um, and I definitely tried to make it work for myself. But then there were just a couple games where I was like, all right, well, I just got blown out because I had Saga in my list against, Jeskai or Boros. And I switched back to cutting all of them in those matchups. But
Yeah, you can get blown out. It's going to happen. You're going to lose some of those games, and that's fine. Um, I yeah, I cut like I think I switched between one and two sagas getting cut against energy depending on like play draw and some other stuff. Um, there it's just since the Blood Moon rules changed with Saga, which is so stupid. I don't understand why why we get it to work like that, but I'm gonna take it. It's so easy to bully the Blood Moon players into not playing their Moon or Harbinger because like if you're like on the draw against them and you play turn one Saga, on turn they play turn two nothing, your turn two it ticks up to two. Now if they play turn two turn three Moon, then your Saga's on 2 and just gets to make a lot of constructs. And most of the Blood Moon decks have a hard time beating that. So like if you just play on the draw, turn 1 Saga, turn 2 Saga against these Moon decks, they actually have a really hard time playing a Moon. And then you just like have until turn 4 at the earliest before they play a Moon.
Did you feel like you had, if you were to change anything with this list, would you change, are there any cards you'd sort of sub out for potentially something better after the
I don't know.
fact?
I hadn't really thought about it that much. The most questionable cards in the sideboard were definitely the Dosan and this one of Mystical Dispute that was completely untested. It was a last minute addition because I had 14 cards that I liked and was like, well, I should probably have one more answer to Ashiok in my sideboard, but I want one that's actually a playable card if they don't have Ashiok. Against Jeskai, this answers the Subtlety or Trick Serenade as well, and against Ritual, it answers Harbinger or Subtlety. So it was still just like a decent card in the matchups where I already wanted to beat Ashiok. But I didn't really get a chance to test it. So in hindsight, I should have like either played something I'm more comfortable with or practiced it more. Uh, it ended up working well. The Mystical Dispute was really good, and it was literally the last card I cast the entire tournament. Um, but the Dosan also I could take or leave. It was fine, but there's also, like we've said, other ways to beat Ritual. You can play like Grist and Hexdrinker or whatever. Um, Against Jeskai, you can keep all your scape shifts in instead of doing things like that. So there's some cards that aren't necessary, but for the most part, I was very satisfied with this list. Almost every card ended up mattering.
Beautiful. How are you feeling during day one? Like, how was that whole, progression?
It was a little crazy. So round 1 was a Titan mirror. Just I mean, Titan does Titan things. I win game 1, he wins game 2, I win game 3, just completely ignoring each other. Round 2 against Simic Ritual, I lost 2 games to Harbinger and won the game where they didn't have Harbinger. Um, Round 3 quickly 2-0 energy, even though they had a Tunnel Ignis in game 2. I just played 3 Titans in a row, declining the triggers, and they couldn't beat the 6
That's
6s.
awesome.
Yeah, I think the first one I had to get a couple lands, take 6 damage just to play the next Titan, but then after that just played Colossal Dreadmaws and like their Tunnel Ignis plus a Johnny wasn't going to beat that.
Hmm.
Um, Round 4 was another Simic Ritual deck. This one I 2-0'd, amazingly. Um, then round 5 was Merfolk. I got paired into Merfolk at 3-1.
I mean, how did he beat Civic and Merfolk just in rapid succession? Like, I
With Simic, it was I practiced that matchup a lot. I knew it was going to be a bad matchup, and I expected it to be a little more popular at this RC than at Houston. But it was mostly a sideboard thing. I have like 11 cards to bring in that matchup. Vexing Baubles are extremely important. Game 1, I just cast Escape Shift, and he happened to have no answers while he was tapped out. I just got lucky. Like I
nice.
was I was trying to bait a Flare Snile, and then he just didn't have the Flare at all, so I won.
This post board?
No, that was game 1.
Okay, game
I
one.
boarded
Yep.
out the chips post
Yeah,
board.
yeah.
Post board, I just like, I don't know, Vexing Bauble into Saga. So if he plays a Harbinger, I make constructs, eventually find a Titan, whatever. Just like play threat on threat. Dosan, I think, got played in game 2. Um, Merfolk is completely different, despite being a bad matchup and another Harbinger deck. Merfolk's just a bad deck. It just doesn't function a lot of the time. And that's what happened 2 games in a row. The deck just
Good.
didn't do anything at all.
Nice.
Like, yeah, it's a bad matchup, but their deck's also just like really bad and is gonna stop working sometimes. Um, After Merfolk was Belcher, so 3 Harbinger decks in a row. Um,
Jeez.
my list was pretty well built to beat Harbinger. I had 3 Dismember side plus the second Otawara. Um, what was crazy about this Belcher match, which doesn't really matter, but I enjoyed it, was that um, I a long-term project I've had with Magic is collecting the Secret Lair prize card sleeves, the ones that you get for winning an RCQ, or they even come on like the PT promos, whatever.
I noticed those, yeah.
Um, and a while ago I finished my set of 75 so I could sleeve a deck with it, and those are what I played at this tournament. I'm up to like 130-ish right now. I'm still collecting them. Um, but this Belcher opponent, his name was Austin Decatur. I don't think I pronounced that
Acquire
correctly.
cardboard, yeah.
Yeah, him. He also has those sleeves. We played a Secret Lair prize card sleeve mirror, which was crazy.
That is so sick. Holy hell.
Yeah, it was insane. I have absolutely no way to confirm this, obviously, but I might be the only person in history to win a Secret Lair prize card sleeve mirror. Um,
That's
I,
awesome.
so
I
that,
I
yeah,
I would say you have pretty good odds to.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Amazing opponent. And played incredibly well. It was a super fun match. I lost game one and then won two extremely tight post board games. Um, yeah, so that was a super fun match. Thankfully, what was good for me was that his list was on Step Through, if you're familiar with that. It's the wizard cycling card.
I'm
Uh,
not. Oh, right. Yeah, I know what that
yeah,
is.
the text on the card doesn't matter. It's just 2 mana tutor for a wizard.
Right.
So it can get Tameshi, it can get Harbinger, it can get there is an MDFC that's a wizard, so it can get a land. Um, I think that list is pretty cool in general, and I think this he's probably right that the step throughs are really good in that deck. The only thing is because he's playing step through, he was only on one Harbinger in the 75. So
Mm,
once I dismembered it, I didn't have to worry about Harbinger anymore.
yep.
Because his idea was like, oh, you just have one and then the step throughs to tutor for it. Kind of like how my list has Green Suns and then one ofs to tutor for.
Yeah.
But it meant that once I answered the first one, there were no more to worry about, which was a little better for me.
And for those that don't
Um,
know, Austin is one of the co-creators of the Belcher deck itself. So very experienced player.
yeah. His deck was super blinged out. He was playing unbelievably well. It was so tight. It was a super fun match. Um, Round seven was against another energy deck. Just it was the same thing Energy always does against Titan. They try to play Blood Moon, it gets Besaju'd, then Titan wins. Um, Round eight was against Domain Zoo. This match was a little crazy too because he mulled to five both games and still almost won both games as Domain Zoo.
Yep.
It was Gavin Meager was his name. Insanely well played by him. Um, Game one had a Doorkeeper Thrall that was really problematic, but he mulled to five, so it was still beatable. Um, Game two, he kept a hand that was the following: Basic Mountain, no other lands. The spells were Leyline Binding, Doorkeeper Thrall, Flage, Ashiok, and a Basic Mountain.
Wow. Wow.
And we talked about it after the game, and we both agreed that this was definitely correct to keep because, like I've already mentioned a few times, you have to prepare to get lucky. You can't win a tournament, even some games, without getting lucky. And a Moldafor was just never going to win against Titan keeping seven, or maybe it was six, but I was at least at six. Um, and he just needed to draw lands to win. Like that hand's amazing if he just draws lands, right? Because you go like turn two, binding my amulet or doorkeeper throw, then turn three, flage if he doesn't need to play Ashiok, or just play the Ashiok. Because if you like turn two throw, turn three Ashiok is a very fast clock, or sorry, turn three flage, and then Ashiok just wins if he has to play that. So he just kept this hand like, yeah, if I draw lands, I'm probably gonna win. Um, the first land he drew was on turn three, so he did miss a land. And then his next land was a Thundering Falls, just a tapped land. If it was an
Oh,
untapped land, he might have won that game because he gets to play Ashiok that turn.
right.
Um, but he could not play Ashiok on turn four. Turn five was the earliest, and by then he was dead. So he played really well, but it still wasn't good enough to. He was cursed by Moldifives to not win that match. Um, Next round after that was the last round of day two, or sorry, last round of day one was another Belcher deck. This one was closer to stock without the step throughs, so it had more Harbingers. Um, Game one was a little weird, where on turn four he just taps out for a Belcher. Like, yeah, if you have Beseju, then whatever, you time walked, but otherwise I'm winning. I didn't have a Beseju. I didn't have an Amulet in play. What I had to do was scape shift for Vestige, bounce Beseju to hit the Belcher.
Oh my goodness.
We both just wasted a turn. We both tapped out and used our best spell just to answer each other. Um, I ended up winning because he didn't draw the next turn he tapped out for another Belcher. But then I had a threat, like I played like a Titan into getting a Beseju or something like that. And then game two, like again, my sideboard is really well built to beat these blue Harbinger decks. I boarded in like 13 cards against Belcher, and I just used those to win. It was
Yeah.
not nearly as close, but game one was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you don't need that much pressure against Belcher once you've got, Bobble Oof going.
Yeah, exactly. And I even mirror pulled the oof in game two to make sure that like he needed a second sink and stupor to win the game. It was just completely over at that point.
So,
Um,
oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna move on to the next match. You had something else there?
Well, okay, so this is the end of day one, right?
Yeah, that was 9 rounds of day one.
So So you've done 9 rounds of day one. You just got done. Like, how are you feeling? How does your night go? Are you able to sleep? Like, how does that all go?
Yeah, so that was the best I'd ever ended on day one. Before that at RC Portland, I went 7-2 with Breach. Other than that, I had played six previous RCs and 6-3'd five of them. I usually end 6-3 at every day one, lose the first round and drop because I don't feel like playing if I'm not live for PT.
Right.
That's just like the usual experience. I've dropped it 7-4 so many times. Um, so ending 8-1 actually felt really good. Or sorry, 0-0, like I said.
Right. Right.
But I don't usually sleep well when I'm like traveling anyway. I'm just kind of used to not sleeping the weekend of an RC. I got like maybe 4 hours at most. I'm just used to that.
Right.
Um, it was certainly a little stressful, but it's always stressful anyway. Even at 6-3, you're like, well, I still have a chance. I'm gonna play tomorrow. Um, but definitely like the 0-0 mentality helps a lot. Where like, yeah, you can make the PT or you could bomb out. Doesn't matter. We're just gonna play more Magic tomorrow. No one knows
Exactly.
what's gonna happen. We'll get there. I'll fall asleep at some point. When I wake up, I'll play Magic and we'll see what happens.
Did you go out with like your team for dinner or anything? Just sort of straight back to the
No,
hotel.
so we got dinner with like a small group, but like a lot of people were noting, these rounds went really long over time. There were like rounds where we were 23 minutes over time. It was like 8, 9 p.m. before I got out of day one. I wrangled whoever I of my friends from Nova that I could get into a dinner, and then we went. I wasn't waiting for people. I didn't want to leave the West Gate. We just ate somewhere in there, and then ate food and went right to sleep. It was way too long of a day to do anything else.
Yep.
The I mean, like I think every single round was like again like this was a very contested point over the weekend was and I think and this happened at every other RC as well, but I think every round was going minimum 20 to 25 minutes over time, which I think is to be expected with, at least in this tournament, with there being 1,400 players, that makes sense. But there was also, but I think this was also happening in the Canadian RC, which I believe was like 400 in comparison to 1,400. Um, and I think partially we might have been the problem. Well, not but Aimlet in general may have been the problem. But I think also like the actual data shows that it was just Guy taking a very long time because that deck takes a long time to win the game, like pretty consistently. Especially and then if you ever have a Jeskai mirror, which you're going to, it's the most popular deck in the room. That took a lot of time, but there was also many aim players that took a very very long time, uh, and I think well that that's gonna lead to some things happening in February, um, probably most likely almost assuredly.
Yeah,
Um,
it was ridiculous. Like the rounds were going so long, and like I spent I spent probably more actual time just like walking around and like playing Dan Dan in the corner of the room than I spent
yep.
playing my actual rounds. Because like it was very like lot of people, a lot of noise, a lot of lights. It was a very like overstimulating event, even in this convention hall, which was better than most. So like just having that long of a wait time where you just have nothing to do was pretty taxing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So let's get into day two, and your matches there.
Yeah, so round 10, the first round of day two, I got called to a feature match for the first time in my life. Um, it was like the C match, so it wasn't actually going to get broadcast. It was a Titan Mirror against Heath Butler. Uh, I win game one, they win game two, I win game three. Just 3 games in a row, one of us reveals Scape Shift and the other concedes.
Mhm.
Um, uh, round 11 is against Affinity. I was really mad at this one because I punted game one super hard.
This
Uh,
is the one against Joseph Puglisi, or no?
no, this is normal affinity
Okay.
against it looks like Andrew Solano, who also top aided. Um, I I go for a 4 landscape shift line with 3 amulets in play. and he has a Tormod script. So that's all I have to play around with 3 amulets and 4 lands. And I'm super dead the next turn. Uh, I get bounce, bounce, T West, Beseiju. Just Beseiju the crypt, T West for analysts, get it back, get the Titan, keep going. Um, the problem with this line was that it did not play around something that I know better than to play around, which was the analyst milled the second summoners back.
Oh,
Um, what I should have done, which in hindsight and even in foresight should have been obvious, was instead of getting a second bounce land, just get Urza's Cave. Um, I had 3 amulets, so I had like infinite mana. The only problem was resources. If I just use the cave to get the second bounce land, then even if I mill the pact, I can use that cave to finish the loop and win. I did not do that, and then ended up losing game one and was super tilted, super mad at myself that I could have just easily played around milling my extra pact and didn't. Won won game two pretty easily, and then game three was insanely close, where he plays like turn two Kappa Cannoneer on the play. Um, and then I'm just like, uh, I forget exactly what my hand looked like, but I needed to draw a green source 3 turns in a row and missed on the first two. I played like a Collector Roof to turn off a Tormod's Crypt and then block down to literally 1 life to go to the last turn, top deck the green source for a lethal scape shift. But it was quite insane, and we were one of the last matches going to, because we got deck checked that round.
all right.
Um, so a lot of spectators got to see me top deck a Growth Chamber for lethal.
That's awesome.
Um, so that was round 11. So now I'm 10-1. Round 12 got paired up into the only 11-0 Ryan Bellamy on Ritual. Got deck checked again 2 rounds in a row. Um, uh, this game one was a little weird. So he finds both his harbingers, but has no other pressure. Um, and on one turn, I have 2 basic forests, or one in play and one in graveyard, but I have an analyst in play, so I'm going to get the other forest back. Um, and on one turn, Ryan decides to sacrifice one of these harbingers off a ritual to get Oculus. He decides he just
Oh,
needs more pressure because he thinks he's going to die to Colossal Dreadmaws.
right.
Apparently his hand's not very good. I didn't know it at the time. When I play against that deck, I assume their hand's just like Flare of Nile, subtlety, subtlety, whatever.
Yeah.
But apparently his hand was really bad. And he was like, I'm not beating Colossal Dreadmaws here. I need to put a clock on you, even if it means killing one of my Harbingers. My Med deck doesn't have 2 answers to Harbingers. It's just one Otawara, like most lists. Um, and I happen to have the Odawara in hand. So he sacrifices the Harbinger to get Oculus. I untap, pass the turn. He attacks. I'm dead the next turn. He passes. Uh, I end step, crack the Analyst, use the lands I get back to Odawara, the Harbinger, and then from my turn, I have a bit of a weird line to play around Subtlety where I have milled a Titan. There's one in the graveyard, and I also randomly already have the Shifting Woodland. So I just, instead of casting a Titan from hand, use Shifting Woodland, copy Titan, tutor for uh, Urza's Cave plus Lotus Field, and then pass the turn because I don't have Shifting Woodland because it's a Titan right now. And then in his upkeep, do the loop.
That's awesome.
If he has one of his 2 endurances, then I can't win, obviously, but can't play around everything. And he didn't have it, so I win that game.
Yeah, I need to go for something.
Yeah. And obviously, like, he's not beating the upkeep Beseiju and Otawara loop, and then I'll untap and kill him. Game two was just all my sideboard cards again, like a Vexing Bauble, a Dosan. I killed him with a Tireless Tracker, got to dismember a Harbinger. It was just this pile of sideboard cards to beat the matchup. So that was the PT winning in 11-1 now.
Wow.
Next
Okay.
round is my round against Ryan Mullins on Energy. He played so tight in all 6 games that we played. It was crazy. Um, yeah, it was. Uh, I forget exactly what happened in those games in round 13, but it was still very close. I won game one, lost game two, and won game three. The most competitive match of Energy I'd played that weekend by a lot. That was theoretically a win in for top eight because it put me at 12-1. But then round 14 got paired into Joseph Puglisi, who was my finals opponent on the Is It Metalcraft is what they called it on stream. It's Is It Cutter, whatever affinity, but without Kappa Cannoneer, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
He just completely dumpstered me 2-0, and it was not even remotely close.
I'll watch that
Uh,
match. Yeah.
yeah, that was my first real coverage match. That was where we were on A, and it was just not even a little close.
Yep.
Um, So now I'm down to 12-2. But what I noted early on in day one and at the end of, or sorry, early on in day two and at the end of day one, my tiebreakers this tournament were really bad. None of my first six opponents made day two. Um, and after day one, I was 24th place, the literal last place 8-1 by like 7% too. It was crazy.
Oh wow.
Um, and that carried on all the way, even though I played against some good players in day two. After round 14, losing to Joseph, I was the second to last X2. Um, and my opponent that I got paired into, Paul Green, was the last place X2 and could not ID in the top eight because there were some weird draws earlier on. We determined I would have gotten eighth, he would have gotten ninth if
Yeah.
if we ID'd. So we played it out. That was another feature match on the A camera, but it was a pretty quick 2-0. It was just like affinity again, but this time I didn't punt game one, so I 2-0'd.
Yeah.
His list had Harbinger in the side, so I boarded him one dismember and got really lucky and drew it in game two.
That's
Um,
crazy lucky. Because this is like
yeah,
a non Tamio, non Emery list, I assume.
yeah, it was the
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 stock.
like
Okay.
aggro affinity deck,
Yeah.
yeah. And he just had a Harbinger in the side. Granted, I wouldn't have had to use Dismember if I didn't have it because there was a point where he doesn't have a lot of pressure. He only has two lands. He's been missing lands for a while, and I have an Oof in play, so he can't Mox Opal either. And I just end step Boseiju a Pithing Needle, naming Analyst, I think.
Hmm.
If I didn't have Dismember in hand, I wasn't going to do that because I didn't want him to play third land for Harbinger. Um,
That's pretty
so it,
crazy,
yeah,
putting in the one of and drawing it against their one of,
yeah, it was a little weird. I probably shouldn't have brought in the Dismember. Um, but I did and got lucky. I still brought in the second Otawara, obviously, because that's a lot more free. So I still had answers to it, and I still might have even won if you played the Harbinger, but it worked out. You might notice a common theme in a lot of these matches is I just got really lucky. But again, you have to get lucky to win tournaments.
Yeah, exactly. And put yourself, I guess, in that position as well. Because these margins are so tight. Like, what losing that would have knocked you out of top eight, right?
Yeah, I would have been 12-3 for like top 16. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is still perfectly fine. Back on the PT, no
right.
no problems there. But would not have been in top eight if I lost that match.
And then yeah, you
Yeah.
go into the quarterfinal, semifinal, final.
Yeah. Quarterfinals is against Reed Johnson on Jeskai Ascendancy. Super cool deck. I kind of wanted him to win, but unfortunately I did win. Um,
I sat next to
uh,
Reed at the start. They organized by first names. So I
yeah,
saw him
yeah.
right there.
Super nice guy too. We had fun, but we were not on feature that round, but it was still cool. His deck just didn't have enough interaction. Game two, he won with like a random Jeskai Ascendancy kill after countering my Green Sun for Roof, but like other than that, just play a Titan and I wasn't gonna lose from there.
I was watching from the sideline. I can't really see the cards, right, because of the light glare. So I had assumed that he had won because he stands up super quick, and you're just still sitting there, and I'm like, I think I think he won. But then yeah, it turned out
We
you got
we were
that.
talking, and both of us kind of didn't really care about winning quarterfinals. Like he was like, yeah, I kind of just want to be done and buy cards for my Vintage Cube, and then we just talked about Vintage Cube the whole match because it's both of our favorite formats.
That's sick.
So based, holy hell.
Yeah, he's a super awesome guy. And then afterwards, he noticed my sleeves and he was like, "Oh yeah, catch me before the tournament's over. I have like three more for you if you want them."
That's awesome.
Yeah. They are worth like $5-ish, I think, but I have enough for a deck, so I'm not buying them anymore. So anyone who gives them to me for free, I'll happily take. But I told him like, if you want money, you can just sell them to a vendor for $5 each, and he was like, I don't care, I'll just give them to you.
That's cool.
Based.
Then his semis against Ryan Mullins again. This time I lost game one. Um, I just could not draw a threat the entire game. Um, then game two was just a turn three scape shift into two Titans against a turn two Ajani. Just like you're not beating the two Colossal Dreadmaws. Um, Game three was a little crazy for no reason other than on the most important turn of the game, there was technical issues with the camera, so we had to pause for like 10 minutes.
Oh right, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, because it paused and I'm like, dang, Nathan's really thinking. I haven't seen this from because you were playing fast the whole week. You're playing fast, organized, you know, explaining well to your opponents. It looked very clean, and I'm like, I have not seen Nathan tank this long on anything, and it was just the camera.
Yeah, so it was also weird because like again, extremely skilled player mulled to 5 and still almost beat me in a terrible matchup. Um, and it was the pivotal turn where like I played a scape shift on 3 lands, I think. I don't remember exactly. I was going for an analyst line. He had like 2 cards in hand, 1 mana up, and there's no orange chance in his lists. Um, the only interactive card you could have that matters here is Surgical Extraction, which you'd have to pop the Vexing Bauble he hasn't played for, but whatever. And based on our Swiss round, he did bring in the Surgical, so I kind of expected it. And he was tanking for a while, and then midway through both of us tanking, the staff comes up and is like, "Hold on, we need a pause." And it was such an awkward time too because uh, when the coverage got back, when the camera fixed, I just had no lands in play because I was still activating analyst, and both of us were thinking,
Yeah.
and no one knew what was going on. It was a really bad time for coverage to cut out, but
Uh,
technical difficulties happen. It's fine.
yeah, it looked like you'd passed with like no land, like you just scape shifted and then decided not to get any lands and passed. I'm like, this is like next level galaxy brain shit. Like what? How? What? But yeah. But it turns out just camera. Okay.
Yeah, it was just a camera thing. He did end up having the surgical, which made the game more interesting, but I still had a green sun in hand to get a Titan. He had nothing relevant after that, and the next turn I just copy Titan twice and kill him.
Right.
Um, and then after that is on the finals, a rematch against Joseph Puglisi, where I agreed to split because I assumed I was going to lose again, considering how thoroughly I got dumpstered in round 14. I don't know why he offered the split. Maybe he wasn't confident. Maybe he thought the matchup was worse. Maybe I was wrong and the matchup is worse for him than I thought.
Hmm.
Um, but he offered the split, so I took it.
Nice.
Um, and then game one, he just doesn't have any interaction, kind of like the Jeskai Ascendancy player, where he plays like 2 cutters, and then on turn 4, I just scape shift while he's tapped out. Um, Game two was a really weird one. I went back and watched, and the coverage, Corey and Jim had no clue what I was doing, and to an extent, I didn't either. Um, I did not draw threat, but I had like 3 sagas, 2 amulets, analyst, um, and I was kind of just spinning my wheels a lot looking for a threat.
This is the one where you like
And
mirror pool an analyst, right? And then you have a bounce in hand with double amulet.
I had a bounce and a lotus in hand. My hand was just all lands,
Oh,
including
I
the second
also had a
lotus.
lotus. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
the lotus was important. All the decisions I made make sense if you know I have a lotus field in hand.
I
Like
think
passing with
honestly
no
the
land to
bounce would have
play,
worked too, though. The way that your graveyard was, maybe the bounce would also worked.
I think it might have, but like the entire turn, I was like in a spot where if I ever draw Titan, I'll put the lotus field into play, cast it, and win. Um, Instead, I put myself in a spot where I copied Analyst with Mirror Pool so that the next turn I play Lotus, activate one of the Analysts, get back Mirror Pool, and do the Analyst loop with Mirror Pool, which I hadn't actually done yet that day because it's not very common.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't draw threat, so I was just like I cycled a Vexing Bauble off Saga because I had so much mana that an Amulet wasn't even going to matter. Um, I got a Vexing Bauble cycled, found an Insidious Fungus, which cycled, and again, if that drew an Amulet, it puts Lotus Field or Titan, it puts Lotus Field into play, casts it. Um, just couldn't find it, so I copied Analyst and passed. If he somehow has no interaction and doesn't kill me with 2 cutters in play, then I'll untap and win. But he had a Blood Moon and the game was over.
Yeah. By the way, the Insidious Fungus play with Tireless Tracker was so cool. Like putting it out of what was it, Flame of Endor range by cycling a land and then drawing a card. That was awesome. That was really
Oh,
cool.
I forgot I did that. Yeah, I that was in the Swiss round against round 14 against him, right?
Yeah. Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, he goes to pick up the Flame of an Arm. I'm like, hold on. If you just pass the turn here, my tracker's dead and I lose the game. I was gonna lose anyway, but
Yeah.
like the only possible way to win is if you don't get to kill tracker here. And then yeah, we go into game three where um what did I do that game? I think he had a cutter again, but it was way too late. He didn't have enough pressure to force me to do anything. Oh right, that was the game where turn one Saga Amulet, turn two land go, turn three he consigns the Saga trigger, and then I just green sun for 6. He plays turn 3 Blood Moon, but I have basic forest plus another green sun in hand. So I just get the Insidious Fungus, and then start beating him with 6. He kills the fungus, cast it again with 6. He counters it, I cast it again with 6.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I can just kill the Blood Moon on tap and win. Um,
That sequence was awesome. And
yeah,
he can't like do anything really to like dig towards Blood Moon because he still has to deal with this fungus on the board. So like he has to apply pressure somehow. I don't
yeah,
know. Just
and
the
and he
whole
couldn't.
theory behind it was awesome.
He had the Blood Moon, but 6 plus fungus meant that there was just so much inevitability. He had to kill me before I answered Blood Moon, which he couldn't do. Um, he ended up, after the blood moon was gone, he could cycle his fire eyelet and found the force of negation for my grandson for analyst, which was
Mhm.
pretty cool. But my last card in hand was the one of untested mystical dispute that I sideboarded in
Yep.
to win the match.
To win the finals of the tournament. That's awesome. I love it.
That's what storyline, dude. That is so sick.
Really cool stuff. And I'm just so happy to have you as an amulet pilot win. You were just very composed, and all your opponents spoke well of you during the weekend. Just awesome to have you win.
It was
After
fun. All of my opponents were super nice, and most of them were also just like insanely good. I did not feel like I deserved to win a lot of those games, but whatever. You get lucky sometimes.
you got to get lucky to make it there. I mean, that's a really important aspect. And so after you win, what like the whole hall's like closing down, people are putting up the chairs. Is that when they start interviewing you, or like how does that all go?
The hall was closing down like in the middle of semifinals.
Right,
Um,
right.
because Joseph Puglisi versus Andrew Solano, the Cutter versus Affinity player. Or sorry, not that one. It was Joseph versus I forget the name of the Esper Blink player who top aided, but that match took forever. That quarterfinals match. It was
Yeah.
like an hour and a half match.
Wow.
So the hall was supposed to shut down at like 6, so they were taking everything down before. The only people left in the hall were basically all my Nova friends cheering me on.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, just straight into an interview, and then they just kicked us out. Like, you cannot be here anymore. We have to close down.
Goodbye. And yeah, and then how do you feel after that? How was your night? How did that all go?
Uh, well, it was a lot. There were a lot of people, and I don't usually do well with big crowds, so I tried to talk to as few of them as possible.
Yep.
Um, while still remaining respectful. Like, I didn't want to just completely ignore people who were trying to just congratulate me, but like there were a lot of people. So I I had a really early flight the next morning. I had to leave at I my flight left at like 6:50 in the morning. So I tried to go to
Jeez.
sleep as early as possible. To no one's surprise, did not get very much sleep, but it was fine. I didn't need sleep then. I just need to get on a plane.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for giving us all that insight. Great tournament result.
Yeah, I'm surprised I even remembered that much. It was 18 rounds and a lot of it was a blur. Like I said, I just kind of forgot each round and moved on to the next one.
Yep. This is why we got to record it now to try and get like as much fresh memory as possible, you know.
Exactly.
um so yeah, and then House and I, well, we saw each other in this LCQ, 2 p.m. LCQ. We were both in the 4-0 bracket and in our sort of winning in to qualify. I was trying to qualify for standard, and House trying to qualify for the modern. Um, and we're like talking about it. And House is like, "Oh yeah, you'll scoop to me, right?" And I'm like, "Why would I scoop to you?" Like what? Like I want to get the standard invite too, but I had it mentioned that it was standard, so House is like, so wait, you're not gonna scoop to me, man? And I'm like,
Okay, I will like to point out. I was like, I just Kaji mentioned like yeah, like I'll qualify for tomorrow. Just so you know.
because like
I mean,
that's sort of
I mean, like I thought I had mentioned it to you like way earlier, like in the week.
I said no idea.
I was coming out to the tournament.
So this is like the funniest thing, and so we finally get to the conclusion of like, oh, House is not qualified for the modern one. Okay, so we're not like fighting over the standard invite. And then I'm like, oh, okay. So like this whole time I looked like an absolute douchebag. Like not gonna give up the invite
dude,
at all.
this Reese traveling guy, dude. I like, man, what a guy. I can't believe I get in the shout when I won the energy, dude, and like, man, like this should just being this kind of guy. No, I mean, I the LSQ was fun, dude. I played against Jeskai 3 times, and I played
Yep,
against Boros twice.
that's
Or no,
the way
sorry,
to do
Boros
it.
3 times, Jeskai twice. And funnily enough, okay, so this is how my Friday went. I played an LCQ. I died in round 3, playing against Prowess, Energy, and Energy. Stock. I messed up my escape shift. Or I was like really, really, really close to winning the game. But I needed an extra resource. Because I believe all of my lands initially were crumbling messages. Um, and it was very, very strange. But what ended up happening is I dropped, or well, no, not a drop. I died. I left the venue, and I went and go played a poker tournament directly after LCQ. Because I mean, like I wasn't too worried about trying to qualify for the tournament. I mean, humble brag, but
You're
already
in Vegas,
queued for
you got other
tournament.
stuff that you like doing.
Well, that and like I wasn't worried about it because I was like I'm not worried about trying to qualify for the Pro Tour off this RC because I'm already queued for Richmond in January. So I'm not super stressed out about it. And then so I went I go and play a poker tournament. I bust like pretty quickly. And I see that there's an LCQ like 10 minutes left. I come in, I was like, all right, well, screw it. Run back to same 75, we'll run it. And then I paired into I don't remember his full name. I think his name was Nelson.
Yeah, Nelson Chen.
Friend of Nathan. And he just casually mentions that I'm order qualified, or we're talking, like we're having a good conversation, and he mentions that he's not qualified for or he's qualified for the more just wanting to get in reps. I was like, yeah, dude, absolutely, yeah, we'll get in some reps. And he destroys me in probably like less than 20 minutes. Was not remotely close. Just had the absolute piss nuts both games. And then gave me the concession, which was very based. Thank you, Nelson. And I then went ahead and won the rest of my matches. Played against Jeskai, beat it. Played against Boros, beat it. Played against Jeskai, whoa, beat it. Which was great because my opponent missed lethal in game 3, which was really cool. I like had to go through this like very like complex turn of like set up a Titan and just hold up on a Wara and just hope my opponent choked because I'm at like 5. There's a Flage in play, an Obsidian Charm play, and a Quantum Riddler in play. And I like bounced like the Riddler like the turn prior, and all my opponent had to do was just exert the Arena of Glory, and just kill me.
Mm-hmm.
Except they didn't.
They missed it.
So I just simply I remember at some point in the turn, or what happened is I was like 1 minute short to loop. So I cracked my analyst to just bring everything back to reuse the Otawara I used the turn prior, and it simply said, "Okay, here's my Titan, here's my Otawara. Go, I guess, and hope you dot, and just hope the fade." And my opponent says go to combat with Flade and Charmon play. It's like, okay, bounce your thing, go to 2, trade my Titan, untap, win the game, sick. And then against Energy in the last round of the LCQ, I turned 3 them both games. It was not exactly a competitive game. But I ended up making like a bunch of changes from the list that I LCQ'd with to the list that I inevitably ended up submitting. I mean, the main deck was I registered the same main deck other than swapping my bounce and split. I felt pretty good about my 75. The 2 Explorer 1 Soccer split was good vibes. I'm a big fan of Explorer, but I'm also a really big fan of Stock Up. I just liked that combination of card selection or ramps. I just want my deck to have some good vibes to Escape Shift, and then the main deck Cavernous Souls was, I think, a really really great addition. I like that it's a green source for Arboreal Razor. I like that it lets me win the game through Six Serenade. I had a few games where it came up of just shifting for through it in the LCQs the day prior, and then leading up to the tournament, just constantly doing that, and just really has no answers to a Cavernous Souls game 1. So if you just ever do that, you just win the game on the spot. And then in the sideboard, what I was doing before I got to the tournament was I was pretty keen on registering Terra Sunders. And the reason why I was looking to play this card was because I mean every Ashok answer sucks. Like they're all terrible. They're just simply no good ones. And my whole general philosophy when picking cyber cards is having a card that I can board into
virtually every matchup, or not every matchup, but like I want it to be as flexible as possible. Um, and well, best case scenario, this is one in a green that's great against the mirror, affinity, brute scale, which are all like decks that will be relevant like in the format. It's like fine, maybe board in like the first copy against energy to kill like a blood moon or something. And then in the like when you're kicking it, it kills Ashiok, it kills Quantum Riddler, which I really liked, which was like the main reason, and it kills Flage if that's in their deck post word, which it shouldn't be, but um, that's more so why I was looking at the card. The cost of it, of course, is having to slash black, which I already was with the raw farms, but I was also playing a sweeper, so I was triple splashing stock of Firespell Hair Thunder, and my mana base was obscenely greedy.
Which I was saying was
Um,
way greedy, way
I,
irresponsible.
I I am the greedler.
The Greedler.
I am very very greedy when it comes to my mana bases. Just simply I don't know. It just felt right. Um, but as I was playing through the day, I realized there's so much energy in this room. There's so much Jeskai. I just need to just button up and just simply just do the responsible thing. And so I was talking with Don the night before of the RC. And it's like I think I'm just gonna play the barrages. And all right, screw it, let's just do it. And so I play the barrages. I play the extra fire spout. And just simply saying, I'm just gonna just make this as consistently as possible. I've always been kind of team no sleepers, but because given just how many games I played, it just made like a lot of sense. And I remember even when we were like looking at the Terra Sunders, then we started exploring like the Black Sweepers, they call it Ritual Toxic and Toxic Deluge, which I think are in theory good. But the main reason why I like sweepers is because it buys you time under Blood Moon, and Toxic Deluge and Client Ritual do not buy you time under Blood Moon because those cards are giga uncastable. So that's kind of why I lent towards playing the Fire Spouts. Other than that, like I mean, I think the sideboard was like pretty clean, like a bunch of 2-0s, one bobble. The Jumps Caverns, I'm a big fan of this card historically, and the work that Rita's been doing has kind of put me on this card a lot. It makes a lot of sense if I'm trying to double splash, or just simply cast Swunking or Sock Up as early as possible. It just makes a lot of sense to me. And going forward, if I were to build my deck like this again, I would play the Jumps Caverns like this again. What would I change? Um, I'm honestly not too sure. I would if I had to register for a modern challenge like right now, I'd probably just run back the same 75. It felt
Reasonable.
fine. I was happy with the cuts that I made in the sideboard. Like I'm not playing Bajuka Bog. I know Nathan wasn't either. I mean like that card just sucks, dude. Like that card doesn't do anything in this format. Um, so I'm just pretty happy with that. Um, in terms of like how like the actual RC went down, I went 2-3 and I dropped because I wasn't gonna. I just didn't bother playing up for the X3 and trying to scrounge my way through that.
Right.
It just was not. It was not in the headspace for that. Going to the day, I wasn't feeling very well. I had uh, like I said, my whole mentality going into this tournament was I didn't care. I just was simply free rolling. Which personally I like keeping my expectations for tournaments low. That and like if I like put like any sort of pressure on myself to do well in a tournament, I feel it instantly. And so I try to keep my expectations as low as possible. That's what happened when I went to Chicago. I wasn't expecting anything to happen. I purely went to just play on vibes and just have a great time with Vinny and Benji, and then we just ran the tables. It was great. And so like the night before, I'm just like hanging out like in the sports book, just like doing like like all these like random things, whatever. And I
I
remember
saw
I'd
you
like
there
grab
too. I saw you
yeah,
there.
I remember I had to like grab like some pizza from there, and I'm just like yeah, and then I like woke up and was like oh I have like wicked heartburn and just like I feel so horrible.
Right.
Like I felt so sick like the morning of the RC, and like plus like there was like all these things of like I didn't have like my my table seating because I LCQ'd in. I didn't have my deck list. I was just so unprepared. And I played against Jeskai round one, just like the sock like mini list. In game one, I just didn't draw a like raw like a natty green source. Until I turned five, and even like through a stock up, I like cast a stock up, and if I find my green source like a forest or a Masaju, I like win the game instantly next turn, and I just see bounce and bounce land. I'm just like, hey, well, I'll take those, I guess, and time walk myself for another turn. Um, but I will say in game two, so like in that game that I mentioned earlier that I cast for Titan, I still lost. What ended up happening is so my opponent has um lethal in play, or like very closely lethal in play. But I think it was like a Goblin Shaman, and they have like a Riddler like that could come down later, or like the later after. Anyway, I'm low as hell. I'm like very close to losing this game. My opponent has two cards in hand, and one of which I'm pretty confident is Surgical Extraction, just based on how the game is played out. Um, and I have a Telaria West in my hand and a Summer's Pact in my hand. I also have a Shiving Woodland in play, a Lotus Field in play, just a lot of mana, and an Urza Cave in play. And I also have a Cavern of Souls in play on Giant. I what I ended up going for was I went for like transiting Telaria West for a Lotus Field, playing the Lotus Field to sack my Cavern of Souls. Stress Serenade is also a card they maybe could have like drawn into, I guess. I like play Lotus Field, stacking Cavern of Souls, cracking Equine Deeps, naming or to get Cavern of Souls, naming Elf, and then I cast Summoner's Pact, and then it got Force Negation, and I died. But I found this line after I like walked away from the table of transmuting from Mirror Pool, playing my Mirror Pool, cast Summoner's Pact. My opponent casts Force Negation in response. I then I then use the Mirror Pool that I transmuted for, copying it, get my Titan with the Force Negation still in the stack, activate Urza's Cave, get Equine Deeps, copying Mirror Pool, copy this once again to then get my Endless to then go Titan into Endless to loop to win the game. That's the line that I end up finding afterwards, and I think I very likely could have found this line in game. I just wasn't just but because of how like out of it,
Out of it, yeah.
like mentally I missed it. So it is what it is. Round two I played against Omenzu. It was a very long match. My opponent hit my Endless off the Ragavan, and I end up top decking Escape Shift to like put myself in a position to win the game. And the game basically came down to I think I made a total of 6 Primeval Titans, both by casting 2 of them, and then the rest being Mirror Pool, Vesuv on Mirror Pool, Equine Deeps on Mirror Pool, and then shifting Woodland copying Mirror Pool. So I made just many Titans, and then said, okay, you are not winning this game through combat damage. I'm at 6. You have a Flage in the yard. Hope to fade, and they kill me, and then I eventually win the game. Or they killed me, and then I won game 2, game 3. Round 3, I played against Pro Tour champion Eli Loveman on Gorya's. I got absolutely clowned. It was not remotely close, but it was good vibes. Eli's a good friend of mine. GG's. Round 4, I played against Omenzu again, but this one was way closer. I just it was not close whatsoever. I killed them by top decking very easily and just destroyed them. Then I played against Esper Blink in round 5, which I wasn't expecting to play against. Game 1, they double Thoughtseize me. I have 3 amulets in play, and I rip pack to kill them, and they died. And then game 2, game 3, they put Nash Shock in play, and I died. Game 3, they put Nash Shock in play, and I died. And I dropped in the tournament, and I went and did some gambling. It was great.
Not bad. Very cool. Yeah, and I'm gonna wait till the next podcast episode to discuss my RC. We'll be, we're putting out quite a few podcasts, so it's gonna be pretty soon. But we've just gone, we need to end the podcast at some point, so I'll save it till the next time, and we'll have something to look forward to. But I want to thank both of you for coming on the podcast. I mean, it's just been great to have both of you. You guys are always welcome in the future to come on the podcast, and I'll send out invites. Don't feel any pressure. But yeah, great to have you guys on. Congratulations, Nathan. What a crazy run. Showing us how it's done. I mean,
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun. Great to be here.
and like I'm just such a fan of, all the first places and challenges and everything. It's awesome seeing you on the moto streets, and then seeing someone who is on the moto streets do so on the challenge. And great to see you, playing in real life, and the sort of composure and cleanliness of gameplay that you are able to show on camera. So really, really good showing for all Titan players, and helping us regain our reputation a bit. All right. Well, I will see you guys in the next episode of Titanic Greed. Hope you guys have a good week, and stay greedy. Peace.